Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners regular workshop meeting. Today is Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. It is 4 p.m. City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Brooks.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGinn.
Here.
Commissioner Tagliarini.
Here.
Commissioner Dillon.
Here.
Commissioner Gabayi.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. Tonight we have two proclamations. The first proclamation is National Safe Boating Week, and I will read the proclamation. National Safe Boating Week is May 16th through May 22nd, 2026. For over 100 million Americans, boating remains a popular recreational activity. From coast to coast and everywhere in between, people are taking to the water to enjoy time together, boating, sailing, paddling, and fishing. During National Safe Boating Week, the U.S. Coast Guard and the National Safe Boating Council, along with federal, state, and local safe boating partners, encourage all boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful waters responsibly. Safe boating begins with preparation. The Coast Guard estimates that human error accounts for most boating accidents and that life jackets could prevent nearly 75% of boating fatalities. By following basic boating safety procedures, carrying life-saving emergency distress and communications equipment, wearing life jackets, attending safe boating courses, participating in free boat safety checks, and staying sober when navigating, we can help ensure that boaters on America's coastal inland and offshore waters stay safe throughout the season. National Safe Boating Week is observed to raise awareness of important life-saving tips for recreational boaters to help ensure a safer, more fun experience on the water. Whereas, on average, 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., of which 75% are fatalities caused by drowning. Whereas, the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas, a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. And therefore, I, Anne Marie Brooks, Mayor of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, do hereby support the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 16th through 22nd, 2026 as National Safe Boating Week and urge all boaters to boat smart, boat safe, and wear it. Proclaimed this 29th day of April 2026. In witness whereof, I urge all those who boat to practice safe boating habits and wear a life jacket at all times while boating. Thank you. And I believe we have a member of the Coast Guard to accept this.
I don't have any speech, but I would like to thank you, Mayor Brooks, and all of the city of Madeira Beach for supporting us the past and current year. And just to let you know, we are back in business. We're going to start doing our courses the first Saturday of every month, and we're going to be getting pamphlets out and distributing throughout the area within the next couple weeks. So if you hear anybody needs a course, we're in business.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have another proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week. It's the 57th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on the functions of local government and the community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk throughout participation in education programs, seminars, conferences, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore I, Anne Marie Brooks, Mayor of the City of Madeira Beach, do recognize the week of May 3rd through the 9th, 2026 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Clara Vlenbargen, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Clara? She said, I'm glad it wasn't upside down.
Well deserved.
Next on the agenda is public comment. Public participation is encouraged. If you are addressing the commission, step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record and the organization or group you represent. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and do not include any topic on the agenda. Public comment on agenda items will be allowed when they come up. If you would like someone at the city to follow up on a comment or question made at the meeting, you may fill out a comment card with the contact information and give it to the city manager. Comment cards are available at the back table on the commission chambers. Completing a comment card is not mandatory. Do we have any public comment?
You all got me here. My phones are ringing. My name is Lori Hopkins. I've lived at 912. Can you hear me now? I'm short. My name is Lori Hopkins. I live at 912 Bay Point Drive, Madeira Beach. I just have a few items. I'd like to start off by saying welcome, City Manager Mike. I know it's an emergency. I'm sorry, I tried to turn it off. Is it bothering you? It'll go off. Sorry, sorry. I got 3 emergencies, but I'm here because I said I would be. So I wanted to say welcome to our City Manager, Mike. It's nice to have you here. Glad to hear last night. We're going to pick up the pace and we're going to get going. And also, I would like to share a commendation to our Fire Chief, Clint, for his hard work and extra efforts as our extraordinary interim city manager. In all of my many city conversations with Clint, which the last 31 years I had very few conversations with the city, but with Clint, he was always very forthcoming, honest, and always familiar with whatever item we were talking about. So I really appreciate him. Thank you, Clint. Thank you. Now I'd like to talk about Bay Point Drive, where I live. I know you've heard about it a lot, and so I'll speak about it. About the middle of last year, we were at a conversation with the mayor's meeting, and many of the residents on Bay Point Drive asked when the mill and resurface would be happening, because we are part of the Area 9 project, which I guess does not happen for about 4 more years, is what I'm hearing. So there's planned a mill and resurface for that road. We were told at that time it would be about 8 more months, which would be January or February of 2026. So then at the February 11th meeting, my neighbor at 904 Bay Point Drive came to this meeting and spoke to all of you, saying Bay Point Drive is very undrivable, it's not bikeable or safe for walking or riding. I even myself was walking home at about 8:30 one night, and a sheriff deputy stopped me, and she said, "I stopped you because you're walking down the middle of the road." And I said, "Well, you had to be real careful." So at that time, the mayor asked, or she first said that she had received many comments about this topic and asked for an expedited date and told the fastest would get done is about 8 months. And that was February 11th. So this is 8 months after the middle of last year, and we were told 8 months. And I know in my past background in government purchasing, I'm very familiar with buying off of other county bids, that you can do that. You can get better pricing, and also many times you can get it done quicker. And that's what we were told, but that it would be another 8 months. And when my neighbor spoke at the microphone, he asked you all, if you're not familiar with it, go out there. I'll walk with you so you can see it. And hopefully you all have done that since February. I'm just here today to say, can you help? I was ready myself to go find those bids so we can get it done. It's a simple mill. And so that was what I basically came today to talk about. I was going to wait and meet with the new city manager, and somebody's like, no, come talk to the commission about it. And I think you've heard about it quite a bit. And then the last item, I'll just mention very briefly, was the last April 6th magistrate meeting. And at that meeting, there were several topics brought up. If you haven't seen them yet, I encourage you to watch that meeting. Both of them had examples in them that were very unfortunate, but they also both included, and I love our city staff dearly, but they both included city staff wrongdoings. And if they had been done correctly, then the outcome might have been different. The magistrate is very clear in explaining himself. All he can do is rule on if the code was properly written in the code violation. So whether anything else was done proper or not, he doesn't deal with any of that. He just encourages them to find their own attorney. So I just encourage you to watch that and see maybe what can be done about those two instances. Okay, thank you very much. I got 11 seconds left. If you want me to sing, I will. Thank you again. I got to go
Thank
deal
you
with
for
my
coming.
phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment? With no additional public comment, next on the agenda is the Board of Commissioners. The first item is 14140 East Parsley Drive property. Marcy?
So I know this is a topic on the mayor's radar because we had a gentleman who reached out to us regarding his ability to rebuild on his property related to a duplex. And we responded with information that where we informed him of some of the things he needed to be aware of for the redevelopment, but that we saw no issues with it moving forward. When we sent that email, we also attached the code 110-96, and I've put that in front of you guys. It was not in the packet, but I have provided it to you guys. The issue that happened there was item number 6 in our code of 110-96 states, occupational license required. Failure to have a current required occupational license in force at the time of the declared disaster will prevent this section from applying to the property. So with the storm having come in and us having an abnormal amount of permits that we're processing and stuff like that, a lot of things that we have not normally encountered as being issues are arising. This is one of them, and it's not one we've really came across too often, but it's one of those that you find one and then you shortly thereafter have another. So with that, we do have properties that have been renting and have not received a business tax receipt. So they were doing business within the community without a BTR at the time of the hurricane, so that kind of voids some of the flexibility they would otherwise be given. During the special magistrate meeting, the owner of the property and his attorney stated that they felt like that's a harsh crime for a small issue, really. And then the question, that has been posed to me is, well, how do I know to get a BTR? When do I need a BTR? And those types of things. So an issue like this happens, the first thing I ask is, what do we need to do different and better to communicate who needs a BTR, and then how do we get that out there? When I feel like a lot of the stuff that we do have are communication breakdowns, and sometimes you can over-communicate, so there's always that fine balance. I think the main thing with this in my conversations with the mayor is what can we do to remove this as a confining factor in this case, and how much of an effort would that be? And so this is kind of for you guys to discuss. I would have to look and see where all this impacts our code. And so if it's straightforward and it's a couple of sentences, it should be pretty easy, though it'll go through the process. But it would require us changing our ordinances to not enforce that at the time. So, and we are finding more people who did not have a BTR at the time that the hurricanes hit. So their ability to rebuild, like I said, is impacted.
Do we have any public comment? So I'll start on this just because I have a personal experience with BTR. Had a online business that we ran out of our house that required BTR. I had no idea you needed a BTR to have a business in Madeira Beach. It wasn't until I was elected to the commission and started shadowing in the city and went into the community development department and sat with the person who is responsible for doing the BTRs. And I found out what a BTR is. So I was in violation and had no idea that I was in violation or that it was required. And my understanding was that there was a period of time where we really didn't enforce it. When I did my shadowing that day, it was kind of new that we were even working on enforcing BTRs. So when this particular instance came up, I thought, well, that doesn't really seem fair if somebody doesn't know that they would just, in this case, and it's not just this case, I believe it'd be safe to say this applies to more than just this one individual, but they purchased a property that didn't have a BTR, and they can't tear it down and build up because it didn't have a BTR. What we're telling them they have to do because of this code is you've got to spend a couple $100,000 fixing the duplex. And then after you fix it and you get your BTR, then you can come back and tear it down and build a new one. Is that a fair, I mean, that's my layman throwing it out there, but is that a fair kind of statement, Marcy?
Yeah, so there are things, and that was never the design of the code,
Correct.
mind you. But if you follow it and the if, ands, and buts, she's correct. That is a conclusion that you would come to, which does not make sense.
Right. So to me, it seems ridiculous that you would tell somebody who wants to take a building out of the flood zone and lift it up that they can't do that because they didn't have a BTR. And the owner actually came to a meeting and I met with him, and then I know he's had some discussions with Marcy. There was a conflict in that before they bought the property, they came to the city and asked, can we do this? They were told yes, but they didn't really know that they didn't have the BTR, which is what created the confusion. And I think that however we figure out to let people know that they need a BTR or what have you, to me, this is very punishing for something that doesn't seem like it really gets anything good accomplished. I would be in favor of changing it so that that is not, and if you wanted to do it where there was a penalty or something, I don't know that that's appropriate, but to just, it seems like doesn't seem like it makes sense to make it be that way.
Agreed. And I was just double checking while you were talking to make sure it's in R1, which poses some added layer of stuff too. So you run into you run into issues in certain zones that you don't necessarily in other ones. So, but yes, I mean, Commissioner.
I have a couple questions.
Absolutely. I'm done now.
I recognize that look now. I've always got a question. So, Tagliarini.
Is it expensive to apply for and get a BTR?
No, our BTRs are very affordable. I don't know. It comes with a rental inspection, so sometimes that's where it gets. But the BTR is under $100. I don't.
Is it a state requirement or is it municipal or a county requirement?
We have we have it in our local ordinance. I can't speak to if we have it in our local ordinance because there is a state requirement. I'm not sure if Tom or Andrew can weigh in on any state requirements, but it is definitely in our ordinance to have the BTRs.
And so I'm assuming that the property right now is not rentable. It's damaged and they can't. So would they? Let's just pretend that didn't exist. The requirement that it already be in place. Would they even be able to get one on the current property as it is without us changing something?
So that's a good point. They've already demolished the property, so
So it's just a lot right now.
so this particular instance, it's just a lot right now. And so
And our ordinance prevents them from applying for a BTR on a future property.
so R1 only allows for single family home. Thank you, Andrew, for stepping in.
Oh,
So
they're in
R1 only
R1.
allows for single family home. So that's where our code becomes for lack of a better description, a word salad. You can be non-conforming because of the size of your lot, you can be non-conforming because of your structure, and you can be non-conforming because of your use. So you can have a use that wasn't normally allowed but got grandfathered in, or you could have a structure such as a duplex that wouldn't be allowed to be built today. This particular instance, you would not be allowed to rebuild a duplex in R1. But because it's an existing duplex in R1, we would allow them through the rebuilding to rebuild, except for the fact that they didn't have a BTR at the time of the disaster. So that's kind of where this gets a little layered. And Andrew, do you want to add anything into that? Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, if in a scenario where we either remove the BTR requirement or give forgiveness for properties impacted by Hurricane Helene, basically what is being asked, so these properties are non-conforming for density. So in R1 it's 7.5 units per acre. So that means you need a lot that's about, give or take, like 5,800 square feet. So a lot of these non-conforming properties, usually they have at least double or more than the density that's currently allowed there. So if we remove, so when they're rebuilding something that's normally wouldn't be a permitted use there by right. It would basically only be allowed to be rebuilt because it was damaged during the storm. So
we would be really doing not only if we change things, allowing them to apply for BTR, but also we would be allowing them to build a legally non-compliant structure. Is that also what's?
Well, it'd be compliant with Florida Building Code. It just wouldn't. And we have like that provision in our code to protect property owners, so because a lot of these buildings were conforming at some point, and back in the day, in various areas, some areas were down zone for the concerns of overdevelopment and other various reasons. Some areas were rezoned from R2 to R1 because they only wanted single family there. Depends on which property, there's history. So, but it would be approving a building. Other cities do have provisions in their code to allow for non-conforming density to be rebuilt. City of St. Petersburg has a provision in their code, but they also do require BTR to be able to rebuild.
So can you remind me, is R1 mean no rentals at all, or is it just long-term? 6 months, 3 months?
I mean, it's a 6-month minimum.
6 month minimum.
But it's a single family is the permitted use for residential property there currently, if you wanted to build something by right.
But the big key here is, as I've done a lot of research, if they demo it, they can only go back with a single-family home. So if it was a duplex and they tear it down without some of the changes here, they can only go back with a single-family home, which is wrong. And it's kind of getting combined because this came up with the Greg Chasen. He has not done anything to his property. He did the right thing. He purchased it, and he came to the city and said, what can we do? And this is what we're looking at here now. But now what we were also talking about is the magistrate's hearing. There's a lady that lives right down the street from him that had a quadplex. She went through the same process. She demoed the place, and now she can only build a single-family home back because of something, I think, in 1987, that they wanted everybody in the R1 district to only have single-family homes. So, I mean, it's wrong. I don't believe that the BTRs should be gotten rid of. I think they're very good, and keeping them in place is important, but yet the catastrophic occurrence that we had is where it's really putting a ball in the system. And that's what I feel we need to change, where at the magistrate's hearing, this lady bought the quadplex, tore it down, wanted to build up another quadplex, and by code and all the stuff that we have here is she can no longer do anything except build a single-family house back.
So but that's unrelated to the BTR. Is that, or is it, or is it?
No, it's because of the BTR. She did not have a BTR in place.
Oh,
She
I see.
purchased it
I got
4
you. I
years
understand
ago
that. Okay.
and then did not have a BTR in place. And since she demoed the place, and once again, just like the mayor said, it's so convoluted that, you know, the way our code reads is that you got catastrophic damage, so you've got to replace the damage, then for the next storm, then you can tear it down and lift up, which, you know, is ludicrous.
I would be interested to know if we just removed 6, would that fix these particular situations that we're talking about? 6, because 6 says, occupational license required, failure to have a current required occupational license in force at the time of the declared disaster will prevent this section from applying to that property. So if number 6 wasn't there, then would they be able to rebuild up?
So what we can do is we can evaluate the code. We've discussed, this comes from our non-conforming section, which needs a complete overhaul in general. So this has been one piece of a larger conversation. But if the goal is to remove this penalty, we can get together, figure out what we do need to touch in our code. If there's other areas where we always find that they are somewhere, we can address that, meet with the city attorney and kind of get a better feel. But with that direction, we could move forward with researching that.
I think also whatever was implemented in 1987, which was if a catastrophic storm happens, then this happens. So I don't believe in 1987 anybody had any idea. Well, they didn't know about titles and all this stuff and the raise in water level. But I think that in itself might need to be looked at removing or at least changing the wordage. And I know Tom's.
True throughout our code. So we have a lot of stuff from the 80s that are still there.
And just to clarify, I mean, residential density is capped here. We're not allowed to increase it.
Right.
So whatever is in place, and we're not allowed to touch it. One potential thing we could, because other cities do have the business tax license requirement with their equivalent of rebuilding after catastrophic loss. But is there any way we could offer forgiveness for properties damaged during Hurricane Helene and Milton? And because I think getting rid of it would kind of open the door for people just not to have a business tax to get inspections. But I do agree it's because a lot of properties didn't realize and they got hit all at once with back-to-back storms. But offering forgiveness would be important, but not to encourage that to continue.
That's what I was going to suggest is that just reword number 6 to read, if BTR was not in place at the time of the damage, it must be applied for and received before construction can begin. And therefore, this would catch all those, scoop everybody in that didn't have one and need to rebuild, and we wouldn't get rid of the BTR requirement.
Let me ask a question. The reason for BTR is because they were renting these units?
Correct.
So how many units were there?
So we had one with 4 units, and then the other one was a duplex
Those 6 units all together?
for the 2 different properties.
And how big is the property?
It's 2 separate properties.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at 7.5 units an acre. That's for residential, but typically for like overnight, is rental allowed in R1?
R1, you have to rent for 6 months or more.
Yeah, and these were these were being rented as long-term apartment, like more than 6
Well,
months.
let me just say, Pinellas County doesn't have any BTR. You can have a building, a business in Pinellas County, there's no BTR requirement. So BTR is just a local thing. Cities impose that, and it's not a bad thing. There's also this thing called termination of nonconformity. So if we are allowing properties like this to be rebuilt, then we should agree that we're terminating the nonconformity of the use. Terminating it has been nonconforming. It's nonconforming. We'll terminate it, and we'll all agree that it's okay to continue with that nonconforming and therefore allowing her to go ahead and build these units. There are municipalities that use that terminology.
And
Well, I don't have my numbers. I forgot to bring the sheet, but I was doing some stuff on the property appraisals. And in that area, if there are 30 properties, 25 of them are multifamilies. So 25 out of 30 are duplex, triplex, or quadplex. And so I don't know that any of those people necessarily know that they have to have a BTR. And this is what the mayor had said before. So as whether or not they are knowledgeable of it, well, I think the city kind of should take some fault in that. Because we know and we can see what our duplex is, and so we have some responsibility in this, I feel. And by correcting this, and I'm not looking to get rid of the BTRs at all. I think the BTRs are very correct and not changing. Well, it's because we had a catastrophic issue. And had that not happened, this wouldn't be an issue. So by correcting it, and I'm not sure exactly how we can correct it, because you guys during the magistrate hearing were trying your best. I mean, and as to what we can do. And this is something as a city, I am a big on board with helping our residents. And if they had a duplex, let them go back with a duplex. And if it was non-conforming or conforming, and this is just in that area. We've got 143rd, 144th, 145th that are tiny, tiny lots. And they're non-conforming, and many of them are duplexes and triplexes. So this is what our city is. So I think we need to do what we can to help these people, and especially if they're wanting to tear it down and build up another duplex and be compliant. That's my
Commissioner Deno,
opinion.
that's what we're trying to do here, help these people. So that's what we're discussing, to help them. How to help them is the question.
Exactly. Yes.
So let's try to find a way to help them.
Yes.
Marcy, I would think that based off this conversation, if your department would come up with a solution that we can vote on and approve, and whether that's to make sure that we are not disrupting other areas of the code, and bring that back. And we all agree that we want to do whatever we can to accommodate those properties and move them forward.
Absolutely. And obviously, the goal with these codes was always to get compliance and things like that. But right now, the priority for us, the compliance is really in having flood resilient homes. And so getting them built and getting them elevated. And just as we talk about BTRs, not to get too focused, because we have over 107 listed. The rental ones are like $9 or $10, so those are pretty inexpensive. But as you get into different businesses, the cost of the BTRs do vary and stuff like that. So I didn't want anybody to think that across the board they were like $10. But if you go to 62-60 of our code, it'll give you an extensive list. But the rental ones are not expensive. So with that, our marching orders will be to figure out how we can incorporate some verbiage into our code, provide relief such that people are not penalized in this capacity as related to a BTR.
That's great.
So we're not getting rid of BTR?
No.
Right,
No.
just, got it, thank you.
And then also, I guess, just like we changed the, when houses are lifted, we change that so that they can go into the setbacks and all that to have access and stairs. I think this is something that we should do as well. I mean, and in terms of, that went through pretty quickly, and rather than keeping all these people on hold as to what they're going to do. So thank you.
Clearwater has a very good code in relationship to what we're discussing. It may not be a bad idea to read that and see if we can adopt any. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the BOC Policy Handbook. Did everyone review it?
Yes.
Did anyone have comments for changes?
Oh, yeah, where do you want to start?
Start.
Let you go.
Let's get to it. Okay, a supermajority. I still.
Page. Give a
okay.
page so that we can go to it and
Oh,
reference
it's
with you.
13 to 20? I mean, let me look and see if.
Nope, you got
Yeah.
13 of 20.
Yeah, no, that's that one. That's my,
Okay.
Article 2. Let's see. Services. Geez, Article, Rules of Procedure. I had it in my. Well, someone else, David, if you want to go, I'll find it.
If you want to, I'll just do this real quick. In the, regarding oh, you want me to know exactly where mine comes from too. Commission contact with the mail, page 11. It says, all correspondence received at City Hall for the Mayor of Commissioners is considered official mail, excluding anonymous mail, and shall be opened by the city clerk. And then this is the part, original shall be filed as part of the public record, and a copy of the mail shall be placed in the handbook of the commission member to whom the mail was addressed. I don't have an issue with that, but I don't recall that ever happening in my last 2 terms. If we're doing it, let's do it. If we're not doing it, let's remove it.
So I believe that there was a period of time, and Clara will correct me if I'm wrong, there was a period of time where that the city manager instructed for that not to happen. And it is something that should happen. Anything that gets mailed to us at City Hall is public record. And my understanding is Clara is opening them, scanning them, and recording them like they should be for the public.
So
We took that task back over.
Yeah.
When we realized that was happening.
Am I working? So that's going to start happening, because a couple of times, I mean, I haven't really felt worried, but I've received a card and I said, I have the original for this. What happened if I just threw it away? And so I feel like somebody should have a copy, and I don't know if it was copied. It's, according to this, I should get the copy. It says, and a copy of the mail shall be placed in the mailbox of the commission member to whom the mail was addressed. And I've always received originals. They've been opened.
Right. So when they're opened, you get the original. That means if it's been opened, it means that her office has documented it.
If they're invitation cards, just cards, inviting you to something, that's different.
Okay. I just want a clarification on that. Thank you.
The clerk clerk's office took that back over when we realized, because it was removed.
I can't hear you, Clara.
The clerk's office took that task back over when the past city manager removed that from the clerk's office.
Right.
So when we realized what was happening, we took it back over and made sure that those copies were being made.
Okay, thank you very much. That seems to answer that issue for me. Thank you.
Okay, I found page 25.
It's number what of 20?
25.
5 of
The
20?
policy and voting,
Look right here. What number is that?
13.
13, thank you.
A supermajority vote of 4 members. So when is a supermajority vote required?
That's from the city charter.
I know that community
Following-
development,
I didn't find it there.
Commissioner, any plan development or zoning special area plan shall require a supermajority, is what it says there.
Okay.
And that's because it's in your charter. It's a charter provision that's just been regurgitated here. So your charter requires
Right.
that supermajority for the plan development rezoning or special area plans, and that's why it's written here again.
Okay, I just didn't really, I hadn't gotten any clarification as to when exactly those are. I know they have to happen, but so basically, so for plan development.
Plan development rezonings and special area plans.
For instance, when we did the Johns Pass Village activity designation, that required a 4-1 supermajority. And I can't remember, maybe there was one other since I've been here, so it doesn't happen much.
No.
Okay, and then page 14 of 20 or 26, the workshops. Are we changing those to 4 o'clock as opposed to 6 o'clock?
Yes.
I have no issue with that.
No. That's all I had.
Any other comments?
With residents, most residents work, don't they? I mean, generally residents work, so they want to be here after work hours.
What are you referencing?
The
Take
time.
it the time.
That the workshops, so we started today's workshop at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Our budget workshop, and then we started this workshop at 4 o'clock. And when we changed that, we agreed that 4 o'clock, because workshops can run so long, were better because, number one, staff has been here since 7:30 this morning, right? And so workshops are working meetings, and if a meeting runs until midnight, there's nobody here witnessing the meeting then anyhow. So whether we come early enough that staff has the cognitive ability to still be present, starting earlier is better for staff. Staying later is
Detrimental.
for all of us. And either way you go, you're either earlier or later. I think if something's on the agenda and people really want to participate in the discussion, they'll either call us or show up before, or if it ran until 11 o'clock at night, they would call you after they watched it the next day. So 4 o'clock starting is really being more cognizant of staff and all of us, that we can sit here and pay attention and have valuable conversations and still be able to think quick on our feet.
Not fall asleep.
That's right.
I feel like when we had this discussion, we talked about how the workshops, as you said, were discussion, but the meetings, the regular meetings, 6 o'clock, absolutely
Yep.
are making it available to people come. That's when we vote.
Correct.
There's still opportunity for input.
There is. That's why we do input before discussion. And then you know what the community thinks, and then we talk about that amongst ourselves. Okay. If,
Mayor, I have
Yes, sir.
two changes that need to be made, just to bring them to your attention. Page 10 of 20, which is 22 in the packet, there's a reference to the Government in the Sunshine Manual. that should be a reference to 2025, and the pages are 21 and 22. And on page 11 of 20, which is 23 of the agenda packet, the reference to the 2022 Government in the Sunshine Manual should be the 2025 Government in the Sunshine Manual. The page number is correct.
Correct, I'm changing that, yes, sir.
Thank you, Attorney Trask. All right, if we have nothing further, next on the agenda is the city manager, RFP 26-02 holiday decor.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. On this, this was a request for proposal for holiday decor services, and it did go out to bid, and they received 2 responsive bids. One was from Holiday Outdoor Decor and Sarasota Holiday Lighting. The difference in the pricing was a real large difference. Holiday Decor was $43,642, and the Sarasota Holiday Lighting was $117,550. Their proposal reflects a continuity of services consistent with prior years. That is for the holiday one. The Sarasota Lighting submittal was significantly higher than the current vendor's pricing. Not really sure why that was, but it was a very large difference. Staff recommends that we award it to Holiday Decor contract, the Holiday Decor contract to Holiday Outdoor Decor. That's a lot of holiday decors. So if there's anything else you want to talk about on this?
Do we have any public comment? Any questions?
I believe anytime that we can save money during these times, that it's a great idea to stay with the same company that we had. So I would be more inclined to agree with the staff on this one.
Sure. One thing I would like to note with the Holiday Outdoor Decor is they are getting some solar options. So something that I'm looking for direction of is, are you interested in that? And if you are, what would you like to cap it at? Because I don't want to go crazy.
So my question was going to be about the electrical. I know that last year there were a lot of challenges with the decorations that were put on the light poles.
Yes.
And the need for electrical repairs to be made there. So if we were going to do illuminated decorations on the light poles, they don't all work. And that's challenging. So is there value in fixing those? I know that we'd had some conversation in the cost to go with Duke Energy, the cost to do privately, because the electrical receptacles that are on the poles are our responsibility.
Yes.
And so I would not want us to install decorations that are plugged in and don't work, because it looks terrible when you're driving down the road and 3 are out, then 2 are on, then 1 is out, then 1 is on, and then, so, I mean, I would appreciate some conversation more in depth on that. Because if you're going to do solar and the solar is going to cost us just for renting, would that money not be better spent in repairing our electrical receptacles or not? I don't know that that is a factual statement.
If you'd like, I can do 2 proposals with them. I can do one with the solar options for the poles. I don't know exactly what's out there because I haven't really dug deep with that yet. But I do know that Megan has some contacts for the electrical poles to get them repaired. So we can add that to the cost of the non-solar, if you will, so we can compare apples to apples.
I mean, I think that would be what I would want to see.
It's a good idea.
For what it,
And just to clarify, to understand, is the value in it?
Yes.
For us to repair the receptacles on the poles or not? Is that
Because it could be a yearly cost.
correct?
for what it's worth, every Christmas, I get emails.
Yes.
Why aren't all our lights work? They look
Yes.
terrible. So, let's take action.
They'd be better to all be dark
Yeah.
than to be sparse.
Okay. For the next workshop, I'll come with those 2 proposals then.
Okay,
All right,
thank you,
thank you.
Megan.
Pleasure.
Next on the agenda is direction on the new property purchase at 555 150th Avenue. City Manager?
In the first 5 days, I've been asked by staff about this. And I think what we're looking for at this time is, are we going in the right direction of trying to figure out what are we going to put out there at the 555 property? There have been, I believe, 2 workshops, and if you look in your package, this is basically a notes of what were taken during those workshops, and it's an assortment of different things. There are 4 areas that keep having a return conversation on, and that would be parking garage, surface parking, and then shuttle, boat docks for the hourly and overnight time rates, and then open space, something like a Coachman Park, and then a nice restaurant to be there. Again, this property is going to have to be rezoned, so we have that obstacle to go through. And I think at this point, maybe the strategic planning process would help us, give us a more concise direction on how we go with this. After thinking about our conversation earlier in the budget meeting, we have already a proposal from Kimley Horn to do a strategic planning, and maybe that's the route we should take moving forward, because that's wrapped around a capital improvement portion. Now, the strategic plan that at some point in time that we're going to have to do, I believe, is going to be a more than just capital improvement. So the strategic plan for the capital improvement would be just for this budget year. And then we can think about later on in the year having a strategic plan which would be more than just capital improvements.
Do we have any public comment? So I thought that when we talked about Kimley Horn doing the strategic plan, it was for a long-range view, not just for 1 year. If it was only for 1 year, then this whole commission, I think, missed that, because we would have been looking for a strategic plan.
For a 5-year?
For 5 years, yes.
Okay, and I will check on that
Yeah.
to make sure. What
Because-
I saw, my understanding was it was almost just like a 1 year, like a capital improvement one. Again, I could be, I'm most likely.
And that's I don't understand why you've been here for 5 days.
I will get up
I'm
to
only
speed
kidding,
fast.
Mike. I'm only kidding.
I will look into that. It was just that the strategic planning portion that I'm used to having is a more wide
Which is, I
range.
think, what we wanted. That
Okay.
is what we wanted.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say that
well,
just following up on the budget meeting, I think that for the community, we need to look at everything we're going to do in the city and what are we going to do over the next 5 years and how do we see that laying out. We've all talked about, we know that we have funds set aside to build a parking garage down in Johns Pass. That is a number 1 priority, I think, for everyone. We know that we purchased the new property. We need parking at this end of the city. Where is that best suited? That's all going to come in the parking study that we do for where it needs to be, how many, all that. So I really feel that the strategic plan is going to set the ball rolling for the property, for what we build there, how we build it, in what phase we build it. So my input would be, we can't really make any decisions until we all sit together at that table and discuss a strategic plan and get led towards that, would be my input.
So then I think my marching orders is to go ahead with the Kimley Horn strategic plan as a part of first of all, this first year's capital improvement plan, but also as a 5-year or 10-year plan to get all the initiatives that we've already started.
Marcy, do you remember when we talked about the strategic plan with Kimley Horn? I thought maybe you were over there looking it up. You looked so intense.
I actually was looking it up. So I was trying to read through, and it basically does. Is this the right one? Sorry. Andrew had sent me something. So I was looking through it to kind of see. So to Mike's point, we can sit down and kind of revisit what we were getting out of the strategic planning, the services. Kickoff meeting, it goes through coordination meetings, engagement and communications. So yeah, it kind of talks about the strategic plan, draft action plan table. So I feel like it was going to be pretty much longer, much further out than just 1 year conversation. That was pretty much what we had asked from them. So I think we probably just need to dust it off and revisit it.
We haven't signed a contract, though. Have we?
Yes.
I did sign it? Yes.
December 6th.
I couldn't remember if we actually signed the contract or if we just voted that we would move forward.
In all fairness,
So-
it was right around Christmas, so
Yeah.
so
I remember the
12,
discussion
23.
that we landed on Kimberly Horn because they
Right.
did our master plan.
Right.
And they would know best what our long-range planning is, what our master plan is. So.
And part of that discussion too was they did a ton of community engagement and they got really good results. And they showed up at a lot of the tents and stuff like that. So on the heels of that real positive experience, it kind of fed right into the strategic planning discussion we were having.
So part of that strategic plan, we will get direction out of the 555 property.
Well, now, the strategic plan will be a roundtable with the commission, right? Talking and
Right.
that, all that, yeah. Yeah, I
My
think everything will
understanding
go
is that.
together.
Okay, all right. Do we have any more discussion on the 555 property? The next one was about hold on a second.
The survey water.
The
for
survey
pri-
water, right.
So I think that can, that's there because of me. And I think that can go until we do the strategic planning. Because we're not going to order a survey until we know what it is that we're planning to build there. And I was lucky enough to have some conversations with Krabby, and he filled my geek mind on that.
Okay.
Do we know if we have any riparian rights there, or would we have to lease properties or water properties from DEP? Do we know that?
There is some submerged land leases that are involved.
Leases, not riparian rights then?
Correct. It's leases.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Is this on? Yeah. And also, though, if they wanted to expand, you could still go out and lease land from the state. So if you wanted to go beyond what we have, that's a possibility. You go to the state. It's not a terribly painstaking process. You just have to report yearly on the income you make, the revenue you make off of that land, and then you pay the state based on how much you made on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is community development, urban county requalification, fiscal year 2027 through 29, renewal of the CDBG cooperation agreement. Community development?
So it looks like previously this item was usually handled by the city manager's office, but it was kind of a transitioning over, so we wrote up a memo because as done yearly. The city has been a partner with Pinellas County Housing and Community Development in the current Pinellas County CDBG Community Development Block Grant Urban County Program through an existing cooperation agreement. The program is undergoing its requalification with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the county has requested the city of Madeira Beach to either remain or withdraw from the agreement. As a non-entitlement city within Pinellas County, the city has two options for applying for CDBG funds. Either one, enter into an interlocal or cooperation agreement with the urban, which is Pinellas County, which must receive a HUD approval, or two, the city itself applies through the state of Florida Small Cities Program. Under option one, the city applies for CDBG funds for any eligible project through the county, but relinquishes its ability to apply for small cities CDBG funds through the state of Florida. Additionally, by participating with Pinellas County, the city is also eligible for participation in the county's home investment partnership program and the county's emergency solutions grant programs. City staff recommends choosing option 1 to sign the agreement to remain in Pinellas County's Community Development Block Grant Urban County Program for use of any future CDBG funds for the fiscal year of 2027, 2028, and 2029. And attached is the agreement and the letter from the county attached to the agreement. Okay.
Do we have any public input? Questions? I don't have any questions.
Option 1.
Option 1? Okay, with nothing further, we'll go to B, ordinance 2026-03, the 555 150th Avenue rezoning from planned development to C4 marine commercial. Community development.
City staff has drafted an ordinance, which is ordinance 2026-03, 555 150th Avenue, rezoning from PD planned development to C4 marine commercial. This ordinance will rezone the property at 555 150th Avenue from PD planned development to C4 marine commercial. Fort Pinellas has reviewed the ordinance and said the ordinance is compliant with the countywide plan. In the Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances, section 110397, time limitations requires the property to be rezoned to the previous zoning district for the property if a planned development fails to be built. A rezoning ordinance is required to go to Plan Commission meeting, public hearing, and 2 Board of Commissioner public hearings. A public notice will be mailed 10 days before the Plan Commission meeting to affected parties within 300 feet of the proposed rezoning. A newspaper legal ad will be published 14 days before the second reading of the ordinance. Located below is a table that compares the planned development PD zoning district versus the C4 marine commercial zone district. The table shows the maximum development potential of a planned development with the alternative temporary lodging use standards. The previously approved planned development used the by right density and intensity, but received a height increase of 2 additional stories. Rezoning the property to C4 marine commercial would reduce the maximum height for the property to 3 stories above base flood elevation. And located below is the table that does the comparison. And city staff initiated the proposed rezoning, and the proposed rezoning of the property is owned by the city, so there wasn't really a physical impact. And city staff supports the adoption of ordinance 2026-03, 555 150th Avenue, rezoning from PD plan development to C4 marine commercial. Attached is the ordinance, the consistency letter, and the business impact estimate.
Do we have any public comment? Commission comments or questions?
I have a question. At 300 feet, who would be the affected parties? That's what I want to find out.
With the mailing, it was really just us, and I think the adjacent property that's owned by. I'd have to see the specific owner.
But it's not the condos.
That's not in the 300 foot.
I just wanted to clarify that.
So there weren't too many affected parties.
Okay, thank you.
Anything additional?
Yes, so this C4 zoning, was that the previous zoning prior to PD?
Correct.
Okay, so what will C4 prohibit to build as far as use?
I mean, use-wise, the commercial and various municipal uses that have been talked about at the various workshops would be allowed. Some would be permitted uses. Some would potentially have to be special exception uses. I'm trying to think of anything that would really be a prohibited use there.
Recreation, in other words, would recreation be allowable use in C4?
So some of those types would be special exception uses, and we would go to the special magistrate and get that approved.
So what if we just left the PD as it is, and just a hypothetical, right? And then modify the PD to whatever we want it to be. You've already gotten a whole bunch of densities and height approvals. So if we just left the Coletia zoning alone and just modify the PD when we move forward, then we won't have to work as hard to get those heights that were previously approved and the FAR and densities and so forth and so on.
So with the previous PD as shown, they really only asked for the height. It was at the density and intensity aren't changing. Also, our code requires us, if the PD is not going forward, we have to rezone it back to the previous zoning category. So because of that requirement, like the current PD can't be used.
So there's a code provision that you'd have to go back to the original equality zoning.
Correct, yeah, that 110-397 time limitations.
Would that be automatic, or you have to go through the process?
It still has to be adopted like through the normal process to
Okay.
rezone a property.
Thank you.
Okay, then next on the agenda is the Snack Shack update.
Good afternoon, Commission. So I wanted to give you guys an update on the Snack Shack. We had removed a portion of the sand and did a brief kind of initial structural assessment. Following removal of additional sand, we went ahead and reached back out to Pannoni, who did our original structural assessment, to have them come in now that we had cleared the sand from beneath the structure. And their findings were very much in line with what we had initially communicated. They identified 2 piles that had 5 to 10% section loss, which isn't a lot. So those can be reinforced, repaired in place. They were able to identify roughly 450 square feet of subfloor that will need to be replaced. But going in, I think that was one of the conversations that we understood that the subfloor could possibly have some damage once we started taking up the tile. They found the beams and joists to be in good shape, and in accordance with our original finding, the straps do need to be addressed. So there was pretty much was in line with what we had previously found. So that was good. So our plan now is to move forward with, we're going to meet with an architect and start going over the plans. This is a great opportunity with Mike starting to really pull him into this project, especially with his construction background. So I do want to meet with the team and go over some thoughts that I have. Adding the language to our code to allow for historical designations is moving on. We do have a draft, and we do have the individual, Blair, that we're working with from Kimley Horn will be coming by tomorrow. So we'll be sitting down with her and kind of, for the first time, really sharing some of the trove of documents we have related to the Snack Shack so that they can start helping us narrow down how we identify the periods of time so that we can start discussing those in a little more detail. So we'll be moving forward with that. They've also provided us with the applications for review that will accompany any historic request, whether it's Snack Shack or any other property in Madeira Beach. So that's moving along. And so the next step is really to get that adopted while simultaneously taking construction plans as far as reasonably possible until we kind of decide the historical era. But I do have some ideas around maybe, again, talking to Mike and the team about how we can continue to move this forward. So not pausing for anything. I do know that Jay did share an update on the food trucks, and I'll let him correct me if I'm wrong, but it does look like we definitely have one slated for the week of May 18th to May 24th. There's been little turnout for it, so I was thinking maybe we've got that board out there. Yeah, Jay, come up. Jay's already been thinking, so. Oh, he's already on it.
Good evening. After last 48 hours, I've been kind of on the phone calling people directly and putting out some more information. So we do have that one weekend you're talking about, but over the next 11 weekends, we have interest in 7 of them, and some of which are going to be doubled up as food and potentially ice cream. So we might end up with 2 on some of those dates. That's kind of the intent. I've had a lot of questions, people calling City Hall as well as the rec center. So we've been giving out more information. Long and short of it, we have through the event software that we use, we've set up an application week by week over the next 3 months because there's kind of a sweet spot of too far out and too close. So now they're starting to see where they're free for a full week period of time. And then we have to line them up with the initial visit that they visit with the city. They're going to have to get an inspection from the fire department. We'll do that once per the full term of if they're out here 1 week or if they're out here 10 weeks, they'll still have to do that one time. So we're just trying to make sure that we get the process itself final, or they're not final, but worked out the best we can. And then the first couple of times we do it, we're working with it, massaging, taking some feedback to make sure that it is smooth as possible as we go. So, but we have had a lot more interest in the last couple of days, which is good. I think people kind of see what the availability was because they were unsure as to what we were trying to do and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's where we are.
Do we have any public comment? So I have a question. How is it advertised? How would someone know that we are looking for food trucks?
So I've put it out in a newsletter, and then social media was the one recently that got the most pushback. Again, some people, a full week opportunity hasn't been, they're saying, oh, well, what if I can do 5 of the 7 days? I'm saying, well, we're giving you the opportunity. We're not requiring you to be out there. So we're trying to work with them because this is kind of new territory for us as far as a food truck vendor location. We normally do like a single day event or Seafood Fest, which is 3 days, so they can commit to those times. But a lot of them are like, oh, I'm booked out for the next 6 months on a Tuesday, a Thursday, and a Saturday. So they're trying to figure out the best way to open up for a full week. We had an application which would have been this week and the previous 2. And then when we contacted him, he said, oh, well, in the 48 hours after I applied, I changed and found a new location. So it's just, they're trying to book as many places as they can. So they change their plans a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, real quick, anyone local reach out to you so far? Because I know Fruit Float had a interest in.
Yeah, that's not, we're looking for a food truck that is fully self-enclosed and has all the proper, and I'm not saying they don't, I'm just, a food truck that has everything that they need within it. They can park, they can serve and be there all day. So that's a whole nother, we've had, there's a restaurant, John's Pass, that was interested, and they were trying to make sure they had access to a food truck, and they're working through some stuff, but they just haven't gotten there yet. So, most of them that I think that I've seen so far are within at least Pinellas County. So there are 1 or 2 that live in town that have expressed interest, but it's just based on timing once again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because that's what I ran into somebody at the green room a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And they said they know you personally and have done stuff at the Seafood Festival. And so he was very excited about it, but yet it was timing, so, and that's, they've got to book up as far as they can. Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Marcy. I know you're working on getting the historic designation for this Archwell Park, but we're spending money. So how do you assess, I mean, obviously you're thinking that there's a 100% chance that we'll be getting that designation. Is that what you're assuming?
Yeah, it's my understanding once I started understanding a little bit more about the designation, we're setting our requirements and we'll adhere to the regulations within the state that we have to, but we foresee no issues with getting the historical designation. I think there's probably only a few spots in Madeira Beach that would qualify, and this is definitely one of those that we feel like. And speaking of expenses, I did hand you guys on the dais, there is a revised table. There were 2 POs that I had missed, so I did update that for you guys. The total expenditure to date is $91,250, and that does not include anything from the historical designation work progress, so that will be into that as well. But just wanted to share that with you guys. And when we went out for bid the first time, the construction cost did come back from $238,100,000 to roughly $399,100,000. So those were kind of the bids the first time. And I'll just continue to reiterate this. We did, Megan did get it treated for termites, so that has been done. The superstructure above is still going to be, even though we're going to remodel it and add new things in, the resiliency it's not going to be fully flood proofed or anything like that. So it is still a vulnerable structure at that location, and that's just inherent to where it's located. So just want to make sure we continue to reiterate that as we go through this process. They did recommend some additional analysis, But again, I kind of wanted the opportunity really to pick Mike's brain on this, and to talk to the team a little bit about some of my thoughts and, on how we proceed forward with what you're talking about in mind is financial, fiscal responsibility in our decisions and how we move forward.
Are we getting any funds from FEMA?
So I know that there was some insurance, we've been in contact with the insurance agents regarding this, but, I do know that we're keeping them abreast of how we're moving forward and what decisions we're making. I'm not involved on that flip side of the financial conversations. Megan is coming up, hopefully to add some context to that. Thank you, Megan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We have submitted everything to FEMA, and we keep going back and forth with FEMA about this. We are getting insurance money, but the insurance cost is way lower because it was not fully insured. And Karen in the finance department can probably speak to that a little bit more, but I want to say we only had $65,000 or so in contents, and then roughly $100,000 or so for the building, for the structure. But we can get those exact numbers for you.
And I just want to refresh my memory because I've forgotten. Forgive me for that. The previous lender, the previous
Tenant.
tenant, are they totally out of it? How
Yes.
did we?
Yes, they've been out. I don't even remember when it's been quite a few months.
Several months.
No further obligation from us to them. Right.
That would be an answer for our attorney.
No, their lease was terminated, and they have been provided with the appropriate notice, and so they have vacated the premises based upon that termination.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All righty, then next on the agenda is parking garage feasibility study quotes.
Good afternoon. So in follow-up to the last meeting, I went through and kind of tightened down the description of the scope of work, which I included in your packet, and I sent to both firms. And with this, just bear in mind that both of these firms are, selected on our continuing services list. The conversation came up really with about how we're kind of gut checking again to, the money that's being spent and the firms we're selecting and the scope of services. But at the end of the day, we did reach out to two of them to kind of just gut check us. But these are kind of qualification-based selections that we want to make sure that, we're taking into consideration when we do select the firms. So if this gives you guys an opportunity to see specifically what we've asked for and then in turn what we've received from the two firms.
Do we have any public comment? Commission comments?
I have some observations and comments I'd like to make. I found it complicated to compare the two, but I did come up with some results. I understand that Kimley Horn is doing a lot of great things for us, which I try not to let unbalance my decision. But just some simple things. Base cost, for Kimley Horn not to exceed $65,500 to $90,000, with a potential increase if additional data collection is needed. And with I'm gonna call it ADIAS. So I don't have to say all those letters all the time. Approximately 43,000, with all the tasks required by the city. Kimley Horn is a higher cost, tasked with broader assumptions, optional work, clearly identified but premium priced. Clear line, the DS clear line item pricing. So the city's RFP emphasized feasibility and decision making, not detailed garage design. A DSQ's scope very closely mirrors this intent. Kimley Horn provides concept layouts and higher detail outputs, which may be appropriate for a later design. The cost is much different. The ADIAS has a no-go methodology, which refers directly to the city language, and it helps avoid costs. If we just need to stop, we can stop, if at some point we decide that. The Kimley Horns does have a robust public engagement, which could be valuable, but these services are optional and more costly. So based on some of these comparisons, I recommend, I'm going to say I would prefer a DSQ. They're the best fit for the RFP. That's the main thing. They answered our questions specifically. They have the better cost to value ratio. The no-go approach, I was really happy to see because that gives us a safe out. The modularity and flexibility. The DSQ's line item pricing allows the board to easily reduce sites, scale enlargement, or expand analysis without renegotiating the entire contract. I think, again, it's very clear what we get and what we don't get. The strategic phrasing for a resort community. For a city experiencing extreme visitor to resident ratios, a DSQ's approach supports a prudent phased capital strategy, feasibility first, design second. If we'd want to go to a conceptual garage layouts, we might want to engage Kimley Horn at a later time. But for this feasibility study, I feel like a DSQ is going to be our best, the most bang for our buck.
Well, I was kind of confused because I thought the last time Kimberly Horn was cheaper going into it. I thought it was like 48 to 53, and now they're more expensive. And I kind of have a little bit of concern going with Kimberly Horn that we're tying ourselves into them big time. You know, that if we're looking for them for 555, they did the study. Now, if we're doing that with this, you know, it could be good and it could be bad. So I'm like, I would, you know, I love what David said, but then also as to what you guys' recommendation, I'm highly looking forward to what the staff feels.
And with, to be fair, with the second iteration, I was much more clear. I gave a lot more guidelines and I did expand based on the conversation that we had. It did feel like we wanted to, while we're doing it, let's get a snapshot of the city. We have needs at north and south end. So this gave them much clearer direction. And so I think that's why you're kind of seeing that there's more to this than previously described based on leaving the meeting and taking the information from you guys. So that's why you're seeing that. And David made some really good points about they did lean into some of the conceptual stuff a little bit. So that's going to drive up the cost. And when you're comparing them, there's a little more there for sure.
I think that when we get to the point, once the study is complete, that's going to be a whole different conversation of building a garage. And I really like the idea. I like that you kind of clarified it up where they're looking citywide so we can see. I think we all could agree that we need parking in the north end of the city also. Recreation holds a lot of events here at Rock Park where there's just not enough parking, whether it's softball or just a concert or King of the Beach like this weekend. So I love the idea of getting a study that tells us you really need a parking garage at John's Pass and you need one wherever else, and this is why, and based off the data, this is how many parking spaces you needed. Because to what Hoosh had said to us in a previous meeting, you know, we all know how much it cost. Well, we all know now because he told us to build a space, right? So we're not looking for what the cost is going to be. We're looking for where does it need to be and how many parking spaces do we need to put there? And is it feasible to build it on that piece of property or not? So I think everybody knows I'm really excited to get this and be able to move forward a parking garage that a previous commission now years ago started saving for so that we could have parking that we need in the Johns Pass area for sure.
So how many areas have we designated for possible parking garage?
I believe we're at 3.
All right. So each lot really allows you only for so many parking spaces with regards to the height, with regards to the length and width. So, I don't really know why we would need to do a study. I would just go ahead and provide those 3 lots that we have and just throw a parking garage on it and see how many you can get. Your study could say, all right, you need like 700 spaces, but your property can only deliver like 200 spaces. So what does that mean? How would that work for us? So, we don't have unlimited land. We don't have unlimited height. We are limited to certain property width, length, height. So I would just, instead of doing studies, I would just say, all right, there are 3 pieces of properties in here. Please maximize and see how many spaces we can get. That should be a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, just drafting. Don't have to get public involved, don't have to do a whole bunch of things at this stage of the game. And of course, the other idea I had shared with the board was incentives to development teams that would want to build properties. So what if we, give them an extra 10 foot of height as long as we can get some parking spaces in there? So I really don't like spending all this money, and I'm in this environment, just for things that don't really matter to us. We're just looking at all these studies, all these meetings. I think the whole thing's much simpler than we think. Thank you.
But just with respect, we're so often accused of ready, fire, aim. And I feel like that we have the opportunity with a DSQ at a price that's, not cheap, but to let, this is what they do. This is what they specialize in parking. And I feel like it would be worth the effort. So we can say, yes, we did a study using a professional firm whose specialty is parking before we go forward, and then find out what the public thinks. And the public engagement is up to us. We decide how much or how little we have. So that's just my feelings. I'm very in favor of having a professional firm do this feasibility study for us, so we know what we're getting into, and they'll provide all those numbers along the way as well, with public engagement, so we can at least have our conscience clean. We did this in an organized, rational way.
One of the things that we brought up in a previous meeting was the property at 130th. There had been conversation that we could not build a parking garage there because of utilities, which has been one of the things that I really wanted to understand. Are there utilities there that would prevent us from building a parking garage? Can we vacate that road and still have a footpath to the beach, but build on that entire piece of property, which would expand the size of a parking garage you could use? To me, that's as much what the feasibility study is. Is it feasible to build a parking garage on this piece of property with all of the expense that it would take to be able to whatever? Is it feasible to build? We identified a piece of property within Johns Pass. We identified the 130th. We identified the property the south parking lot. We've since found out we cannot drive under the bridge. FDOT came out. We met them on site, and they went back, they did a study, and they said, no, the bridge is it's
a pre-stressed.
Yeah, pre-stressed. It's a pre-stressed bridge. So no way, you can't, if something hit it, it would be done.
So we could build a garage there, but we can't use that.
You cannot drive under it, and you also cannot have any ground floor storage, and you can't do any retail. So you wouldn't be able to put a restaurant on top of the parking garage or anything. You couldn't do anything like that. It would just strictly be a parking garage.
Are you suggesting we're down to 2 then?
Well, so I'm interested to know in a parking study, and just to elaborate, so we've had presented to us within the last, I think, year to build a basketball court and a new concession stand over at the softball fields. And over the last 3 years, excuse me, there's been discussion about building a concession stand that would have a announcer's booth up top where we could bring in more softball games, make us more desirable for whomever would, broadcasters, whatever. How can you talk about building something like that when you have no place for people to park? Right? So the idea of doing what was presented to us is a fantastic idea. It's going to bring more people here. But where are you going to park them? So do we need, based off of what we do now, we need a parking garage here? Could they, where would that be? I mean, I have my own ideas, but that's why I'm interested to see what a professional would say. And if they said, yes, you really need to find a parcel in the north end of the city, you need to find a parcel to build a parking garage. And based off of the activity that you're doing there now, this is how many parking spaces you would need for today. And then they also think about for the future. And the one thing we've done in this city really, really, really good, in my opinion, is we've built for today without thinking about tomorrow. And I think it's incumbent on us as a commission to make decisions not based on today, but based on the future as we're going to grow and as the city is going to develop whatever that looks like.
While I agree 100% that we need parking in the north end of town, it was my understanding that this fund was specifically designated for Johns Pass Village area.
It is, but if we're doing a parking study,
Oh, this fund, yes, the study.
you may
could-
as well do it all instead of spend now for it all, or spend now and then spend again.
Well, the study can include 3 locations. We decide what those locations are. That's what we were
So
given.
this says existing conditions and demand analysis citywide. So that is what Marcy, one of the things that she added that I particularly liked, because it's not saying just look in Johns Pass, look in the whole city. I mean,
As long as one of them is in Johns Pass.
100%, 100%.
'Cause that's what-
That is our focus, is Johns Pass.
Good. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I did want to just say real quick to elaborate on the mayor's comment regarding the ground floor uses for the parking garage. The limitation at the Johns Pass Park there that we were discussing is because of its underlying land use. So that's where that prohibition kicks in, is the underlying land use at that location messes up. It dictates how we can use that first floor. So it's not applicable at every site, but particular to that one.
Thank you for that clarification, Marcy. All right, then next on the agenda,
Wait, do we need to give them direction on which company to?
do you feel like you have direction, Marcy?
We do have somebody from Kimley Horton, so
Oh.
she may want to step up and speak.
Do you have any questions for her?
I felt like I understood the proposal pretty well. So I don't have any necessarily questions.
Okay, so no questions for Kimley Horn? Okay.
So you want to give her direction, and we'll tell you whether we agree with you or
I
not?
thought we needed to give direction on which firm
we
to
do,
use.
we
If
do.
we're going to, which I think we need to go forward.
Yes,
I
yes.
think we need to provide direction. I've already made my position clear.
Mr. Dillon?
So the choice is one or the other, right?
Correct.
Well, I have to ask, does staff have a recommendation as to which you prefer? Typically, you guys do a recommendation as to which way, and then we go from there.
In consideration of some of the comments from the commission and our desire to just really spread out the work, again, we've been very, very lucky with Kimley Harm. The team we have is absolutely amazing. But I would say with what we've seen here, I would say that we could move forward with the AEDASQ. I would, staff has no objections to either firm. Like I said, they're on our continuing services, And that's why, you know, we wanted to present it to you guys to really discuss. But for the same reasons you pointed out, it would be the ADES, AEDASQ.
We got to figure
This
out
is
how
why
to
you
say
can't
their
keep us
name
here
right.
too late,
Well-
right? So
Yeah.
again, that's ADEASQ.
I would agree with Commissioner
I would agree.
Taglerini.
I agree also.
Cheaper is
Agree.
better.
Agree.
Okay.
Yes.
Marcy, you feel like you have direction from us on that?
I do, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is fire. Approval of Florida Department of Children and Families grant for Riptide Simulator.
Good evening. Try to go off script here a little bit. I don't need to explain to you guys how dangerous the waters off our
Could
beaches
you
are.
pull that up?
How dangerous they are, especially near Johns Pass. It hasn't been 2 weeks, and our boat was out there rescuing a female that was swept out in the current, almost all the way out to the outer marker. So when the Department of Children and Families contacted us and said, hey, we have the ability to give you guys a grant to get you a swimming simulator, a Riptide simulator, I jumped all over it, and we have been awarded it. We do need to come out of pocket initially for the purchase. It's $12,750 for the purchase of the simulator itself. The only other stipulation is I have to teach a class to our personnel. I've already designed that class, so we'll be ready to go as soon as it comes into our possession. The simulator goes into a pool, creates a riptide current, throwing 3,000 gallons of water a minute across the pool, and I intend to teach our personnel how to identify them, how to swim through them, out of them, and everything else, and eventually make a video so that we can use it on our website and teach citizens on how to do the same thing. Also, we'll be getting some training materials that can go out to the public. So the initial fiscal impact will be the $12,750 for the Riptide simulator. The grant also allows for us to spend up to $1,150 in training materials. So the total grant funding is $13,900. So our recommendation is for the approval of the expenditure for the Riptide simulator, any training aids that I come across within the $1,150, of course, and public education materials. Wow, trying to combine words. That way we can provide, you know, the safety impact for our personnel and the residents. So, any questions?
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
I think it's a great idea, and I talked to Clint about it yesterday, and, you know, the idea of the simulator, and we had talked about the idea of, I know some of the condos, and to potentially have classes or reach out to the condos and say, okay, so we are going to do a demonstration here. And there's a few board people that have condos, and, you know, so to do it and get public awareness of it, and I think it's a great idea.
It's very portable. It weighs about 70 pounds, if I remember correctly. There's a battery pack that comes with it, and I can drop it in anywhere.
So how big of a pool do you need to create that? Do you know?
Well, it moves 3,000 gallons of water a minute, so it would have to be a
Pretty good
fairly
size.
decent-sized pool. I have already reached out to St. Pete Beach to use their rec pool for the initial training video and our personnel, because it's an Olympic-sized pool. I figured that would be big enough.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can downsize from there, you know, for condos and whatnot after that.
I think that's really cool.
I think it's a fantastic idea. And definitely, maybe the board, we can also,
Save you from the riptide?
yeah, we can train with that also, especially with the grant. I think it's a great idea. As you know, a lot of people, we lose a lot of people in Florida with the riptides. So I think it's a great idea.
Anything for public safety.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Public Works, FDEP Resilient Florida Grant for Vulnerability Update and Adaptation Plan Discussion. Ms. Wepfer?
Good evening again, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is an exciting one. This is a grant, and it also comes in two-part, and I have Cody here with me. He's from Advanced Engineering. So the city has been awarded a grant. We're going to discuss the grant. We're going to ask you to accept the grant and also approve the proposal for Advanced Engineering to do the scope of work. So this is a fully reimbursable grant. This is not a match grant. It is 100% reimbursed through FDEP. The total grant is for $485,000. So it is for, the reason why it's a vulnerability update is because Pinellas County is working on our vulnerability assessment. I can't talk. We are going to update that because there are portions of that. I'm going to let Cody speak on that.
Sure. So the vulnerability assessment update, and hello, Mayor Brooks and Commission. So the vulnerability assessment update, it'll do a couple of things for the city. One is the current vulnerability assessment that the city has was completed under a larger effort that was catered towards Pinellas County. So although there is some city-specific stuff in your vulnerability assessment, a lot of it was broader scale. So doing the update will enable us to focus more on the city and potentially incorporate more assets like your seawalls. In addition, it was completed under the old set of data standards. So FDEP has updated their data standards, which include new planning horizons and new sea level rise values. So this new vulnerability assessment or the vulnerability assessment update will make sure that your VA is compliant for a longer period of time, so it'll be under the new data standards.
And then we will be working to create an adaptation plan, in which we do not currently have. The adaptation plan will help us for future grant requests and also help us to acquire more grants because they like us to have a plan in place. It just makes us look more resilient and like we're trying to work towards the bigger picture. So in your packet, you have the, I believe I put the grant agreement in there, as well as the proposal and the scope from Advanced Engineering. So we can go through that if you'd like, or I can have Cody kind of go through it if you have questions. It involves a lot of data and also involves neighborhood meetings, public outreach, if you will, which will also, I think we were talking about rolling kind of the terrain mod in a sense into that as well. So we have a lot of different resiliency things going on that we're going to roll into this kind of plan, if you will. Do you have any questions? Would you like Cody to go through the scope?
Just a quick description of work. It's not really just about us. Often it's about the residents to hear what's happening and how much we're paying you and what you're going to do for the city.
Absolutely. Thank you. So the total grant application that we prepared for the city, so actually you had two grant applications. I guess if you don't mind, I'll give you a brief sort of narrative. So you had two separate grant applications, one of which we worked directly with the city on, hand in hand with Megan and Marcy and Andrew, and that was for an adaptation plan, which will be the second element of this total scope. And then FDEP also received another grant from the city that covered a little bit of it was a vulnerability assessment update grant. It was also for an adaptation plan and for a WMP kind of study. So FDEP saw both of those grants and they put them both together, which is how you ended up with this vulnerability assessment update and this adaptation plan. So that's the grant, or that's the proposal that you see right now. So again, with the vulnerability assessment update, with that, we are going to take your existing vulnerability assessment, work directly with the city to figure out if there's anything that we want to add. Like I said, seawalls would be something to add to that that's currently not included in your vulnerability assessment. Local roadways are included. However, I'm not sure to what extent. I have a meeting with Sharon at HDR, which was the consultant that was involved in the current vulnerability assessment tomorrow, and I'm going to ask her to what extent she looked at your local roadways. There may be an opportunity for us to look at a shorter distance. So like, let's say they looked at every 500 feet or 1,000 feet. We could look at 250 or something like that to provide a greater level of detail. In addition to that, obviously bringing your VA up to the current data standards that FDEP has. And then after we complete your vulnerability assessment, which we incorporated a lot more public engagement. So technically, your vulnerability assessment, because it was completed under the Pinellas County Initiative, had public engagement, but it was more regional based. Our public engagement will be directly with city residents of Madeira Beach. And that public engagement then continues from the vulnerability assessment to where we identify all of the vulnerabilities and opportunities that the city has into the adaptation plan. With the adaptation plan, we then look at all the problems that were identified in the vulnerability assessment, which a lot of these problems, admittedly, the city knows that you have. It is just a way to document them that also enables you, as Megan said, to have vehicles to additional grant money from the state for projects. And then that adaptation plan then builds strategies to address those vulnerabilities that were identified. And obviously, one of the things that we would like to do with that is talk about terrain mod with residents and among other adaptation strategies. But really, your adaptation plan is an opportunity to engage with your residents, figure out what opportunities they see and what they would like to see in terms of the city trying to become more resilient and plan.
This is the entire scope of work that you will be performing for us?
Correct. So we'll be doing the vulnerability assessment update and an adaptation plan. That's included in this scope. We're just under $485,000 is our proposal, and your grant is for $485,000. And as Megan said, this is 100% reimbursable, so the city is paying up front, but they'll be fully reimbursed.
So how much time do you think you'd be engaged in developing this plan?
So in the scope, I proposed 80 weeks from NTP to complete. Now, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so 80 weeks, basically, you just multiply the number of hours by 80 weeks and then so much per hour?
Oh, sorry. So I have a proposed labor breakdown in the scope that's in front of you. Sorry. I don't have total hours for the whole thing. Let me say. So I don't have a total hour, sorry, but you do have in front of you the proposed labor breakdown.
And it does have the hours listed.
Yeah.
The hours are listed for each task. Just doesn't have the total in there.
Okay.
It's on page 134.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want public to hear it, not just us to know it.
Can I ask a question? I mean, 100% reimbursable, I mean, can't go wrong, but when, engage residents and stakeholders in resilience planning, what does that mean to your average resident, resilience planning?
Sure. So with the vulnerability assessment, we identify all these problems. So we're going to present all of these maps that show all this flooding, but again, a lot of these problems, a lot of people are already aware of, especially with these recent storms, right? But that doesn't really do anything for the city or for the residents. It just lets them know that they're vulnerable or the city's vulnerable. The actual adaptation strategy part is to where we, as an engineering firm, also inside, with the city staff and with the residents, develop solutions to that. One of those solutions could be terrain mod, which is an effort that the city is currently pursuing, but it could also look at pump stations and other types of solutions. So it presents those to residents in a way that is understandable to gauge their feedback on that so that it would help guide you as a commission as to what path to go forward, because we're doing the community buy-in part through the adaptation plan.
So I could say specific actions so you would, to help prevent the flooding that you're seeing on high keen tides and such as that. These are to rationalize why we're doing some stormwater projects, et cetera.
Exactly. And then you'll get in real time what the resident feedback is. And then we'll have a summary report with statistics that state, X amount of people participated, X amount of people supported this solution, or X amount of people supported this solution, so that you have an idea of what that is.
Great, sounds good, thank you.
Absolutely.
So on your schedule, you have the start date for July 1st, and then the task due dates are all the way out to 2028. Do you think that's Is that actual what you really think, or is that?
So I think you might be looking at the grant work plan. and not the proposal. The proposal, I just talk about weeks from NTP.
Oh, so I'm looking at the task titles and when the start date would be and the due date.
So that's in the grant work plan?
Yes.
So then for the state, those are our deadlines that we have to submit
Okay.
deliverables to the state.
So I guess my question is, do you foresee that those are accurate dates, that this project would run into 2028? That's my question.
I foresee
really.
us completing before that.
Okay, very good. I think this is great. And the, having it covered 100% is fantastic, and being able to utilize it for grants or even to get favor for appropriations, wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Thank you.
Thank you. So next on the agenda is the Johns Pass Dredging Update Survey.
Hello, everyone. What you have in your package is the survey that was completed April 9th, I believe was the date. So since then, we have received an updated survey, and I apologize, we just received it yesterday, so there wasn't enough time for us to get it into your packet, but we will share that data with you once Mike and I actually have a chance to fully review it. We have reviewed it, but we haven't really had a chance to talk it over. But to date, we have removed approximately 9,600 cubic yards of sand. So to date, when the survey was completed, it was only at 80, 84, 85. We are moving right along. We are moving along as scheduled. We are still anticipated to be completed by the end of May. I know that there's been a lot of talk out in the public about there may be additional sand. We've talked about that in the past. And when we first began this project, from the first initial survey to the design plan, there was roughly 4,000 cubic yards additional sand in the dredge area. So our current cubic yards that is in budget was for 12,900. With that being said, we have a 5% contingency that we included in with the bid. And then there is also $10,000 that we had in the bid for a restoration of the parking lot. So we have approximately $74,000 additional monies that can take us up to, I don't know exactly what that cubic yardage is, but we can use the budget and make sure that we get the most amount out of there as we can without exceeding the budget that you all have approved. I think we are meeting with Brett tomorrow. We have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and Brett is working on trying to get what that 74,000 can get us, in addition to the 12,900 cubic yards that we had in the budget. So I think it's important to kind of talk about the Aptum survey and the design plan and how this project was designed, because I know that that's also come up recently. So we met with Aptum on Monday or Tuesday. These days are running together. This week, we've met with Aptum.
That was yesterday.
That was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
So Aptum, while they were not provided the entire survey document or study from 2021, I believe it was, that this is the study that the county paid a portion of, Hubbard's paid a portion of, and the city paid a portion of. So they were not provided that whole entire document. But what they were provided was the final presentation, which had all the data in that document, and also the geotechnical study. Am I saying that? I'm saying that correctly. Yes, the geo study that was done for Pinellas County's dredge projects. So when Aptum was selected to design this project, they were not given a budget. They had no idea of any type of budget that was for this project. They were not given the grant funds for this project. So they designed this project according to the survey data that they were provided from Pinellas County. So I think that's really important to note, because it wasn't, oftentimes engineers are given a budget and they design to that, and they weren't. So what we know from that 2021 study was there are multiple different scenarios within that study. And I don't know if you all, Commissioner Dillon, I don't know if you've seen that study, but everyone has been provided that study. And we are within what one of those areas called out for, and I think it was like 13,100 cubic yards removed, and out of like the 10 or 11 that were there. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that while they didn't have the full thing, they did have it, but there was a misunderstanding whenever we spoke and we had a meeting with them 2 weeks ago. So I think I have, another update is that Bayside is going to film underwater, and they are going to capture all the debris from the bridge, and we will take that video, and we will send it to DOT for them to come and remove all of that debris, which we believe, and Brett believes, that will help as well. And there may be in the survey, some of that debris may be accounting for yardage, and so we may have additional as well once that's removed.
Can we move forward with getting the debris removed before they're done dredging?
As soon as we have that data and that video, and they plan to do that this week, we will send that to FDOT and we will continue to push them. So I cannot guarantee, but we will push DOT to do that
Because
as soon
it's
as
likely
possible.
the debris is keeping the sand in.
It is
And not
likely.
letting it go, even flow back out.
It is likely, yes.
My 2 cents for Aptum would be that before they make bold statements, that they check their work, because they've caused us conflict by providing us with inaccurate information. That's not your fault. I'm just saying it so that it's out loud, that when for them, they were the company hired to permit, and when they were asked a question, they gave an emphatic no, and that was actually not correct information that caused some misunderstanding and miscommunication that could have been avoided and would have been much better for all of us had it been avoided. I just said that for their benefit, not for anyone here, because no one here in this room provided misinformation. They did. But thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Any comments?
We're on board with you, Mayor.
The next on the agenda is acceptance discussion for FDEP LO253 Stormwater Resiliency Project.
This is another grant that we've received. This is the state appropriation. Thank you, Linda Cheney. This is for stormwater check valves, and we finally received the grant agreement, so this is what you have before you. This is a $100,000 grant. I have been working with FDEP to get this grant agreement to work, because we're not going to bring in an engineering firm for this, so we're going to save money and be able to just bid out the project to have basically 2 separate phases, an assessment phase and then an implementation phase. So we are going to be able to get minimum of 8 different locations for these valves, but it is all based upon the cost of the assessment along with the cost of the installation per valve, because every single location is different. And I've picked the locations based on our flooding events that we have in the lower lying areas. So I am just asking for you all to review, and then I will bring it back before you for acceptance. And then we will go out to bid. Once we then have the bid, I'll bring it back before you for approval.
Any comments?
Yes,
For all
Mayor.
these grants,
I know.
Yes.
Well, this is an appropriation
appropriation.
Yes. This is
from
an
Linda
appropriation.
Cheney.
So Megan,
Representative.
are these flapper valves or gate valves?
These are flapper valves. We have in place in the Boca Ciega neighborhood and 137th Avenue Circle, they're called Waypro valves. They're a cylinder, and they basically have a rubber valve on them. We've had them in place in Boca Ciega for probably 8 years, I would say.
I think they were.
Maybe 9.
At least 8, because I remember living there while
Yes.
that happened.
So maybe 9 years, and they are, for the most part, they don't stop the water. Nothing's going to stop the water, but they do slow it down. The biggest issue that we've had with them in that neighborhood specifically is debris going down into the storm drain and then not allowing the seal to close. But as far as maintenance and as far as just their overall integrity, they've been great.
What's the material?
It's a aluminum material and then a rubber valve.
Okay.
And I can show a video of them next time.
Do you just regularly maintain them?
We do. Yeah, we have a new software, that Forerunner that we actually went on with Marcy that allows us to have every single stormwater asset on that. And now we have we've done a decent job of taking care of our stormwater, but now we're doing a great job and we can track it much better.
And they match the size of the pipe, right?
That is correct. So the assessment portion of this will be for them to go out and to ensure and to measure and to ensure that we're getting the proper valve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, help me to understand. It says Florida Department of Environmental Protection grant. And where does, just so I understand, is the appropriations going to match that?
Appropriations turn into grants.
I just wanted to be clear that we all understood that last year we got one appropriation.
Right.
And that Representative Linda Cheney got us that appropriation, and this is it. This is what we got.
Thank you. I
That
just
she
wanted clarification. Thank
put
you.
forward for us.
God,
Yes.
thank you.
The next on the agenda is purchase of 2 easy dump dumpsters from Parkan.
So I believe everyone has seen the 2 F-250s that drive around that have the dumpsters on the back. The dumpsters on the back of those trucks are Parkan Easy Dumps. We've utilized those since I've been here, 2015, and probably prior to that. They started out as 3-yarders, and now we have gotten much busier and found that 6-yarders are better, and our trucks are able to hold them. So these trucks utilize these for if in the event the Broyhill machine breaks down, which it did this week, so we were able to empty the trash cans on the beach. We use it for various park locations, for various bus stops. Oftentimes, if we have to do a go back and the garbage truck is already at the dump, we use these trucks for that as well. So we will be purchasing these off of a source well. This has been posted to the Demand Star to follow the proper statute on purchasing. We had no, and I believe I included all that into your packet. No one responded to the source well, and I've attached all that information onto there. I've attached the source well document, and we will be purchasing this directly from Parkan, and then our mechanics will install them. So previously, we had always paid a fabricator to install these for us. Now we will install them in-house because we have the ability to do so. There may be some various welding that may have to be done. I think we should be able to do most of it in-house. We do have $60,000 budgeted for this, and I would imagine that we're going to come up very close to that budgeted amount.
So, Jeff, 60,000 was budgeted, is that what you said?
That is correct, yes.
That's fantastic.
That's what I was going to say. I thought I saw that somewhere, but I don't see it in the packet here now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
In the memo, I believe it's in the memo.
Okay.
Yes, in the physical impact portion of the memo, that is $60,000 is budgeted. And it's for truck number 3 and truck number 68, which are both 2019 F-250s that we will be able to utilize. And if for some reason something happens with the truck, we can disconnect this and put it onto a new truck.
For the record, I haven't asked for public comment because there is no public here. They've been gone for quite some time. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
So would you wait for, so public comment is our last item.
Yes.
And Ms. Hopkins came, and we have heard, you've been at a lot of the conversations where Bay Point's come up.
I have.
Do you have an update, or should we put this on a next meeting to give an update?
We should put this on a next meeting to give an update because Mike and I need to talk about that.
Okay. So then for the record, we want to add Bay Point to our next workshop, or if you can provide an update at our next at our next voting meeting, just to give an update to the community as to where we're at on milling and resurfacing that.
Well, I mean, can we do pothole repairs? I mean, I haven't been out there in a while.
It's not just potholes. And honestly, there's only one section of Bay Point that is really bad. And if you are going out onto Bay Point, once you get out there, if you go to the right, there is about, I would say, probably a 300 or 400 foot section that is, the base is failing. I had core sampling done of it, and it's alligator cracking really bad, and it's constantly saturated. And even if you look into the yards, even though the homes are all elevated, the yards are always saturated. So I had core sampling done because we were trying to figure out exactly what was happening out there. And the core samples just basically said the base had failed. I don't know what's going on the personal properties because obviously we didn't take samples from there, but take a drive out there and take a look at it. It's quite interesting.
Well, I mean, coming from north, the mill and overlay is a great thing, but yet just possibly a simple overlay, and like not a big deal,
Yeah.
and especially if who's ever doing area
9.
3. Well, is 9 what's in work now?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
you're.
Yeah, I mean, so if they go out with 2 trucks and say, okay, so this is the area we want to overlay to, get it through for 3-4 years. I mean, and that's what I think.
There is a possibility that Area 9 is not going to take that long because we're going to try to go for resiliency money, which is due by September. So we'll definitely come back with an update.
Let's let her come back with an update. All right, thank you very much, Megan.
you.
It
Have a
is
great night.
6:05, we're adjourned.